Let's talk about perception and reality. We all have these senses and ideas that shape the way we see the world, but here's the kicker: how do we know that what we're seeing, feeling, and understanding is the real reality? It's easy to assume that what we perceive is what's true, right? But sometimes reality isn't so straightforward, and perception can be more than just a little deceiving. Take a moment to imagine something simple: a sunset. You're watching the sun dip below the horizon, casting this beautiful wash of pinks, oranges, and purples across the sky. Peaceful, right? But what if I told you that the colors you see aren't actually there? The colors of the sunset are really just light waves scattered by the atmosphere, and our eyes are decoding these waves in a way that makes them appear colorful to us. In other words, your perception of that beautiful sunset is, scientifically speaking, an illusion. Now, I'm not here to ruin sunsets or tell you that what you see isn't important. Quite the opposite. Perception shapes our lives in ways we often don't even realize. Think about a movie for a second. You're sitting in a dark theater, fully engrossed in a story. You laugh, you feel suspense, maybe you even cry. But all that's actually happening is light on a screen paired with sound waves, but our brains piece this together, and we experience a story, a whole emotional journey. Your perception takes something basic and turns it into a full-on experience. Now, this isn't just about visual or sensory perception. It also happens with ideas, beliefs, and even memories. Let's dig into memories for a second. You might think your memory is like a video recording of your life, right? It's all stored up there, just waiting for you to hit replay. But here's the strange part. Memories aren't as reliable as we like to believe. Scientists have found that every time you recall a memory, you change it a little. It's like a game of telephone happening inside your own mind. The more you remember something, the more you edit it, and eventually, it's possible that what you remember isn't even close to what actually happened. Wild, right? Our perception of reality is based on all these inputs, ideas, memories, and sensory experiences that can, and often do, deceive us. Yet, we build entire lives and identities on these perceptions. Think about it. People form relationships, build careers, create art, all based on a mix of what they perceive and what they believe to be real. We're walking around with this mashup of real events, warped memories, and personal beliefs, creating our own little worlds, each of them a bit different from everyone else's. It's like we're all wearing our own virtual reality goggles, seeing a version of the world that's uniquely our own. Let's dive into the science side of things for a moment because it only gets more interesting. The brain processes an incredible amount of information every second: colors, sounds, smells, emotions. But here's the thing. It's too much to handle all at once. If we tried to process every little detail, we'd be overwhelmed. So, the brain takes shortcuts, filling in gaps based on past experiences, expectations, and patterns. Essentially, our brains are guessing what's out there based on what's most likely. Ever walk into a room and immediately forget why you're there? That's your brain automatically tuning out details it deemed unimportant the second you walked through the door. Our brains are efficient, but this efficiency can also create illusions. And this doesn't just happen with little things. Have you ever seen those optical illusions where lines appear to be different lengths, but they're actually the same? Or where a still image seems to be moving? Those tricks work because our brains interpret visual information based on context and expectation. And sometimes it gets it wrong. But that doesn't mean our perception isn't valuable. It just means it's not flawless. Our brains give us their best guess, and most of the time, that's enough. But every once in a while, reality peeks through the cracks, and we get a reminder that our perception has limits. Now, if you want to get really deep, this raises a huge question. If perception is flawed and reality is hard to pin down, then what is real? Philosophers have been grappling with this question for centuries. Take Plato's famous allegory of the cave. In the allegory, people are trapped in a cave, watching shadows on a wall. To them, the shadows are reality because it's all they've ever seen. But in reality, the shadows are just reflections of objects outside the cave, which the people can't see. Plato was suggesting that our perceived reality might just be shadows of something deeper, something truer, that we're not yet aware of. And speaking of things unseen, have you heard about the Matrix theory? The idea that reality could be a simulation is popular in both science fiction and modern philosophy. The idea here is that if technology could simulate a reality in every way indistinguishable from the real world, how will we know if we're in it? I mean, if perception is already fallible and reality is already hard to pin down, how will we recognize a simulation? It's a question that fascinates and maybe even freaks us out a little because it challenges one of our core beliefs that the world we experience is the world as it really is. But maybe we don't need to get lost in the weeds. While questions about the true nature of reality are fascinating, what matters day to day is our experience, our relationships, and our understanding of ourselves. We don't need to solve the mysteries of the universe to find meaning in our lives. In fact, maybe there's a beauty to this whole imperfect perception thing. If reality is a blend of what's real and what we interpret, then every person's experience is, in a way, their own little piece of art, unique to them. The truth is, perception colors our lives, and it allows us to create our own versions of reality that feel meaningful. Maybe what matters most isn't figuring out the absolute truth of every detail but understanding how we can best live with our personal version of it. Perception gives us sunsets, movies, dreams, and memories, all rich with meaning, even if they're not always scientifically accurate. It's not about being right all the time, it's about finding meaning in what we see, hear, and experience. So, in the end, perception may be an imperfect lens, but it's ours. It's what gives us art, music, and love. It gives us the chance to explore, to question, and to wonder. And maybe, that's what makes it more valuable than reality itself. Reality might be out there, somewhere beyond the limits of our perception, but our experience of life, our sunsets, our memories, our dreams, that's the reality we get to shape. And isn't that, in a way, pretty incredible?